Our hired man left to enlist just as corn planting commenced, so I shouldered my hoe and have worked out ever since. I guess my services are just as acceptable as his.
No conflict in history, a journalist wrote, was so much a woman's war as the Civil War. North and South, women looked for ways to help. In the North, citizens formed the Sanitary Commission and the Christian Commission to organize private relief and check the spread of disease in the Army. The disease rate was cut in half. Sanitary commissioners prowled the camps demanding they be cleaned up, reforming hospital conditions, insisting on better food, making sure blankets, shoes, medicines, and packages from home were distributed fairly. Prominent men ran the Sanitary Commission. New York lawyer George Templeton Strong was its treasurer. But hundreds of thousands of women in 7,000 local chapters all over the North did the work. Sewing, knitting, baking, wrapping bandages, raising funds, organizing rallies.
If this war developed some of the most brutal, bestial, and devilish qualities lurking in the human race, it has also shown us how much of the angel there is in the best men and women. Mary Livermore.
Mary Livermore, a Chicago minister's wife, organized Midwestern volunteers into 3,000 chapters. And when the Army was threatened with scurvy, sent so much food south that one reporter said a line of vegetables connected Chicago and Vicksburg. Clara Barton, who stood barely 5 feet tall, distributed supplies by mule train, ministered to the wounded from Cedar Mountain to Antietam, and tirelessly lobbied Washington for better care for the men. In a letter home, Catherine Wormsley, a nurse on a hospital ship, decried the confusion and chaos on board. But she ended, "Goodbye. This is life." George Templeton Strong's wife, Ellie, went south to serve on a hospital ship too.
Ellie's tact, sense, good nature, and energy conquered the USA surgeon in charge at once and coerced all his official dignity into hearty, grateful cooperation in the care of his cargo of 500 cases, mostly bad ones. I've never given her credit for tithe of the enterprise. Pluck, discretion, and force of character she has shown. God bless her.
We had no sanitary commission in the South. We were too poor. We had no line of rich and populous cities closely connected by rail. With us, every house was a hospital.
Southern women worked as nurses too, despite criticism that it was unladylike for them to care for ruffians. Sally Tompkins of Richmond and a staff of only 6 nursed 1,333 wounded men in her private hospital and kept all but 73 of them alive, a record unmatched by any other Civil War hospital, North or South. Mary Ann Bickerdike, a Quaker widow and Sanitary Commission agent, traveled with the Union Army through 4 years and 19 battles, assisting at amputations, brewing barrels of coffee, rounding up cattle and chickens and eggs to feed the grateful men who called her Mother Bickerdike. By the end of the war, General Sherman said simply, "She ranks me."